What is up, party people? Excited for this one. Sweet. So, how to travel like the 1% using credit card points. And then I labeled it as well, how to fly business class and stay in luxury hotels for a fraction of the cost. Now, I am more biased towards flights than I am hotels. I'd much rather fly business class than stay in a hotel. I'm not going to be in the hotel much. I'd much rather have my travel be business class. Like, I'll give you a few examples, but this is a little bit leaned more towards flying for sure. Um, but I also have done the luxury hotel thing. I just tend to spend my points a lot more towards flights. This is an example, okay? This is my girlfriend on the left. This is me laying down with my lie flat seat. And then this is me with my menu, which is insane. You get a menu on the flight, so I could literally order my own meal. It was insane. And then this little blue bag right here, it just has, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, conditioner, because yes, there was showers. There's all sorts of stuff. It is such a great experience. And it's something that everybody can do, and you don't need to pay substantial amounts of money to afford it. So, look, most people are using credit card points completely wrong. And here's the truth. Banks will literally pay you for your travel if you understand how to play this game. And this is money you're already spending. So I'm not asking you to go spend millions of dollars on your credit card and spend money you don't have. No, no, like this is genuinely like you're already spending money right now, whether it's $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month. You're spending that money somewhere. And if you're using a debit card, you're just missing out on free money. Like this is free money. Like there's no catch. It is free. I guess the catch is you have to understand the game, and they make it a complicated game so that people like you can't just take advantage of it. But guess what? I'm going to show you how. So, high level overview, what you will learn is number one, how points work, how to earn them, and then how to redeem them. So, high level overview of the game itself. Okay, there is three types of points. There is bank points, which is the best. That is going to be, American Express, Chase, um, Built, Citibank, Capital One. Those are really the five that we would go after in terms of bank points. There is airline miles. Okay, and just a quick disclaimer, points and miles, same thing. Okay, Capital One says miles, so it's Capital One miles, but Amex is reward points. Chase is reward points, or I think Amex is actually a membership. Or no, I think it is membership reward points. But all you need to know, points and miles interchangeable. So there's bank points, airline miles, and hotel points. Okay, those are the three types of points. Now, bank points, the reason this is so key. The reason those are the best is because they have what are called transfer partners. Okay. And those are airlines and hotels. So we can transfer our bank points into that currency. So, for example, if you earn American Express points, you can then transfer American Express points at a one-to-one ratio most of the time, meaning one bank point equals one airline point or hotel point. So I can transfer my Amex point to become an airline point. For example, American Express or Delta is a transfer partner of American Express. So I can take my American Express points and I can transfer them to Delta, and then I can book a Delta flight. I don't want to book anything with my American Express points. I want to transfer them to where I can use them. And airline and hotel points can't transfer anywhere else. So if you earn United Airlines points or if you earn Delta points, you can't transfer them to any other airline or hotel. You're stuck in that one ecosystem. Versus if you earn bank points, you can actually transfer them to all sorts of different transfer partners and transfer them to those ecosystems. Now, how you actually earn these bank points and miles is three ways. One, sign up bonuses. When you sign up for a new credit card, they will have a sign up bonus where if you spend X amount in X amount of time, you get X amount of points or miles, right? So, a common one, I think the American Express Gold is spend $6,000 in your first 6 months. So if you spend, once you spend 6 grand in total, whether that's your first month or it takes you all 6 months, then, let's say you get, I don't know, 100,000 points, right? The second way is going to be your category multipliers. So that's when you spend money on the card, right? Some cards, these are just examples, but some cards have, 3x on dining, right? So anytime you go out to eat, you use that card, you get 3x whatever you spend, right? So if you spend $100, you get 300 points. Another one would be like 5x on flights, right? That's the American Express Platinum card, 5x on flights. So you spend $100, you get 500 points. And then another one, the Built Palladium card gives you 2x on everyday spend. So that's any category of spend, you just get double whatever you spend. You spend $100, you get 200 points, right? And then the third way you can earn points is referrals, right? So you can refer people. Let's say I'm like, hey, you should get the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. I send you my referral link. You sign up for the card through my link, and Chase will give me, for 20,000 points or whatever it is, right? So those are your three ways you're going to earn these miles or points. An important thing to note is you don't get rich on the spend alone. So you don't just get rich on category multipliers. You really get rich on sign-up bonuses, right? And it's really a combination of sign-up bonuses and spend, right? I mean, it's really a combination of all three, but the main way you really rack up miles is sign-up bonuses. Unless you're a big spender for some of these categories, you're spending $100,000, a month. Okay, even 50,000, you're going to get quite a lot of points, but it's really the sign-up bonuses and adding new cards to the collection, every few months, because that's where you can get 60, 70, 100,000, 150, sometimes 200,000 miles or points. And that's where it really adds up quick. So the sign-up bonuses is really the trick to the game, but that's requiring a more advanced level where you're adding multiple cards. And then one thing I added is don't get a new credit card if you can't hit the sign-up bonus. If you are going to go apply for a new credit card and you can't do the spend requirement, if you're like, dude, I would not be able to spend 6 grand in 6 months, then don't get the card because the sign up bonus is a one-time thing. You can never get it again. So if you're not going to get the sign up bonus, do not get the card. That is a fatal mistake. Common mistakes when you are earning points. Number one is spending on cards that don't have the highest point multipliers, right? If I have a card that gets me 3x on dining, don't use the card that doesn't have a dining multiplier or has a 2x dining multiplier. Always, always, always have the highest point multiplier and know your cards. Like know which card has what multiplier so you know what card to use for what spend. Another common mistake is spending on hotel or airline cards, right? A lot of people think, oh, well, I have an American Airlines card. Like I want to get a lot of American Airlines miles. It's like, but you're only getting American Airlines miles. You can't transfer those to any other airline. You're stuck with only American, which just stinks because you don't have any options. You're stuck in one ecosystem. So you don't have the ability to find those once in a blue moon type of opportunity. You're stuck. So you don't want to spend very much on those hotel or airline cards. The only time it makes sense to do that is if you're spending with that airline or that hotel. In every other situation, it doesn't. Um, Unless they come out with a new card that proves me wrong. But as of right now, March 30th, 2026, don't spend on hotel or airline cards unless it's at that hotel or with that airline. And then the last one is a lot of people think like, oh, like I have the Amex Platinum, like I just spend all my money on that. I should have a lot of Amex points. It's like, no, the Amex Platinum has terrible points multipliers. It's not a good card to spend a lot of money on. So you gotta know, just because it has a high annual fee does not mean it has good multipliers. In fact, a lot of times the higher annual fee cards don't have the best multipliers. In terms of the Amex card, the Amex Gold is actually a much better card to spend money on for most people than the Amex Platinum. But the Amex Platinum has a lot more credits and benefits than the Amex Gold does. So there's a lot to go over here. Kind of what a beginner setup, there's really two types of people I talk to. Someone's like, dude, I don't want to learn this game. I do not want just, give me one or two cards to use. That makes it simple and I can earn a little bit of points. I'm not trying to, understand the game and travel and luxury. Like I just give me a simple setup, right? Cool. That's going to be one to two cards, right? Probably two. One's pretty hard to do, but some people are like, I won't do more than one. Cool. Well, two cards, we can get you a setup. It's a simple earning structure. It's probably going to be like a 2x on everything type card, and then maybe like a dining grocery card or a 3x on dining card, something like that. You're gonna have minimal benefits, right? So you're not gonna have a lot of credits and extra things you can use on the card, which a lot of cards do. And when I say benefits, for example, like I'm gonna go into this later, but the Amex Platinum card has like $2,500 worth of credits, right? It has a $400 dining credit. It has a 200 something dollar Uber credit, which it's just a statement back on your card. So if I spend $200 on Uber, it just reimburses me for that money. So there's a lot of credits that you can use on these cards. Also, lounge access, like airport lounge access, is a big benefit people care about. There's, clear memberships, priority pass, which is also lounges, all sorts of stuff that we'll get into. And then the beginner setup's usually going to be one ecosystem. And again, we always target the bank point. So if you're like, I just want a beginner setup, maybe we go after Chase, right? Maybe we go after Amex or Built or whatever the ecosystem we're going to target. But you're probably going to be in one. Now, a more advanced setup, you're going to have multiple ecosystems, right? So you might have, a Chase ecosystem, also some Amex, maybe you also have some Bill, maybe you also have a Capital One card, right? You're going to have multiple ecosystems that you target for specific things. So multiple cards for different spend categories, right? You might have a card you use when you go out to eat. You may have a card you use for gas. You may have a card you use for Amazon purchases. You may have a card you use for regular spend, anything, not in those categories. You may have one for advertising or whatever it is, right? You have multiple cards for different spend categories. You might even be getting into business credit cards. It's actually a major hack. Business credit cards, you get major sign-up bonuses from those business credit cards. Another thing, it could be rotating category bonuses. There's a card that Chase has called the Freedom Flex, where every quarter, so 4 times a year, there's a different category that you get 5x points on, which is a very high multiplier. But you have to monitor, okay, what category is this in for each part of the year? Um, and then there's usually tons of benefits and credits, right? Like I mentioned, the Amex Platinum has all these credits that you can use to offset your annual fee. However, you gotta use them. If you don't use the credits, you're not getting the value from the actual credit, which sounds stupid and simple, but it's true. And how the credit card companies make money with these benefits is they know that only a certain percentage of people like us, like me, who uses every single credit is actually getting the value. Let's say they give you a $400 dining credit, but you only use $100. Well, they just saved $300 on you as an individual client. So they know people are not going to use all of the credits. Quick cheat code is if you have a two-player strategy, like a couple, like if you're married or you have a boyfriend or girlfriend that like, you're pretty much married, and you're okay like using the same credit card points for certain things, like, oh my gosh, like talk to me. Two-player strategies crush because double the bonuses, sign up bonuses, and double the points. And you can target different cards for different it's awesome. So the question you're probably asking now, you're like, okay, I understand I need to earn bank points. I understand I need to transfer those points to, the airlines and hotels. But what cards should I get? Well, I'm going to simplify this for you. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to simplify it. I'm going to overcomplicate it for you. Depends on so many things, right? How involved do you want to be? Do you want annual fees? Do you want multiple cards? Do you want multiple credits and benefits? Are you actually going to use those? What's your highest spend categories? Do you pay rent or mortgage? What airline do you fly the most? What hotel brand do you stay at the most? Is airport lounge access important to you? Right? There's a lot of factors that would go into how I would custom tailor a strategy for somebody. Like my strategy isn't, there's no the best strategy because it's based on the airlines that you use a lot and what your end goal is. Like my end goal is business travel, specifically internationally. So I'm targeting certain categories, certain ecosystems, and I know what my spend is. Like rent is my biggest expense. Food is a big expense for me. Groceries, those are like my big three. So I have specific cards to hit all those categories. And like, this is funny. For example, I shop at Costco. Costco doesn't accept American Express. So although American Express has one of the best multipliers for groceries at a 4x rate, I can't use it. So I actually got rid of my Amex Gold when I realized I only go to Costco. But I found a different card that actually gets me, 5x. It's actually a 5% cash back card, which I don't like cash back, but 5% cash back is actually better for me than just a regular 1.5x since Costco only accepts Visa cards. The best I could do was a Chase Freedom Unlimited card, which only gets me 1.5x on that spend. And so I'd value 5% cash back over 1.5x. That probably sounded very complicated, but there's a lot of nuances to this. So, what card should you get? Talk to me and I will help you out. Next thing a lot of people, get worried about or think about is annual fees, right? A high annual fee is going to have benefits to justify it. But with that being said, not every card's annual fee is justified. Just because you see benefits doesn't mean you're going to use them, right? And you have to decide if those credits are already within your daily spending habits, right? For example, the American Express Platinum has a $300 Lululemon credit. But if you're not going to spend $300 at Lululemon in the year, then that's not a credit. That is basically you're paying up front for the year to pay $300 at Lululemon. And so if you're like, oh, I get $300 to spend, whatever, whatever, but you wouldn't have spent that anyway, well, that's actually an expense. That's not a credit. But, for example, if I think it's $240 Uber credit. I'm gonna spend $240 in Ubers in a calendar year. So that is a literal subtraction for me from the annual fee because I would actually spend that regularly if I didn't have this card. So that's an important thing to know. The annual fee itself, that's not what you should concern yourself with, unless it's a cash flow issue, in terms of, you don't have the money to pay for it. That could be an issue, but minus the benefits you would actually use from the annual fee, and that's actually what the fee is, right? So that Amex Platinum card has an $895 annual fee, yet I justify it as I'm actually getting paid like over $1,000 to have the card. That's how much value I get from the benefits of that card, which I actually use that as an example card. I'll get into that later. Well, there we go. Wow. So the Amex Platinum, here's an example. I just want to kind of show you how I think about these cards when I'm looking at them, right? So benefits, spending multipliers, and sign up bonus. So the Amex Platinum spending multipliers, 5x on flights, 5x on hotels, 1x on everything else. Now, quick caveat, the 5x on flights, and you have to read the fine print, is only if you book directly through the airline. So if you book on, what's the travel websites called? Priceline or any of those, websites, you don't get the 5x. You would just get 1x. So you have to book directly on unitedairlines.com or delta.com to get that. For the hotels multiplier, it's not any hotels, it's only if you book it through their travel portal, which they're sneaky about, right? And a lot of times the travel portal is a little bit more expensive than the actual hotel website. So, you know, I will usually, if I pay cash for a hotel, I will always look on the portal. And if it's within, 20 bucks or so, okay, yeah, no problem. But sometimes it's, $100 more. And it's like, all right, that's not worth it at that point. So I don't really get the hotels one because I don't really book through the travel portal that often, but once in a while I will. Plus, most of the time, if I'm booking a hotel, it's a business expense. So I'm not going to put it on a personal card. Um, and honestly, same thing with flights. So I don't really get much out of these multipliers at all. And I don't spend 1x on anything. So I don't like the spending multipliers whatsoever on this card. The only reason I have this card is the credits. Like there's a $600 hotel credit, $200 airline credit, $209 clear credit, $400 dining credit, $200 Uber credit, $300 streaming platform credit, $300 Lululemon credit, $100 Saks credit, $120 Uber One membership. You get gold status with Marriott and Hilton. You get President Circle with Hertz rental car. There's actually a lot more. Um, you get baggage insurance, you get rental car insurance, you get there's a concierge service to book reservations at restaurants and hotels, and there's a ton of credits on this, but I was just giving a few here. So the ones that I listed here, not even including, lounge access and all the other things you get, this is $2,429 in value, right? Now, if you use every single one of these credits, that's eight minus the annual fee of $895 a year. You would technically be getting paid $1,534 to have this card, which is pretty ridiculous. Now, I don't use all of these credits. Like I don't use the Saks credit, and I don't use the I actually do use the Lululemon credit. So I honestly get, $1,400 worth of value from this card. And that's just the credits. That doesn't include airport lounges and some of the other stuff that I didn't mention. Like this card, they're gonna nerf the card. Like I guarantee it. Like there's no way there's this much value. My thesis is they put all of this as a lead gen to get everyone on the card, and then they're gonna chop it. Because they know a lot of their customers aren't going to change cards. That's just, they're just not. And then also, I got a $175,000 sign up bonus from this card. Now, if I were to just trade that for cash, 175,000, you can multiply that by 0.01, which I'm going to do some quick math. 175,000 times 0.01 is 1,750. So I could actually transfer those points directly for cash of 1,750 because they value their points at 1 cent per point. So just by hitting the sign up bonus of this card, I made $1,750 at the bare minimum, right? But but you're going to get much more value from your points than 1 cent, and I'm going to show you how. And you're never going to trade your points for cash. However, that's why I tell you never sign up for a card if you're not going to hit the sign up bonus. Very, very, very important. So at the very, very least, it makes so much sense for you to get a credit card for the first year, hit the sign up bonus, and then you don't want to cancel credit cards. But what you can do is just downgrade it to the free card. So instead of canceling the card, you just downgrade it to the card that has no annual fee. So get the sign up bonus and then downgrade the card, right? And in theory, what you could do is take the 175,000 points, cash out, the $895 annual fee, whatever that's worth. I wouldn't do that, but let's say you're broke, you could still do that. And maybe you have, I don't know, 90,000 points left, but you got the card for free. Plus you got, $2,400 in credits. Like There's ways to take advantage of this card. It's really a no-brainer for most people if you're actually would be using these credits in your normal daily spend. Another example card here is the Amex Gold. This is the personal card, $325 annual fee. Welcome offer is usually 60 to 100,000 points after spending $6,000 in 6 months. Spending multipliers. These are one of the best multipliers of any credit card right now. 4x on dining, 4x on grocery, 3x on flights booked directly through the airline, 2x on travel booked through the Amex travel portal, right? So kind of like the Amex Platinum, but it's 3x and 2x, but it's these categories, the dining and grocery, that is sexy. And then 1x on everything else. The benefits you get $120 Uber cash, $84 Dunkin' credit, $100 dining credit through Resi, which is just a reservation platform. Great credit. I love the Resi credit. And then you get $120 dining credit to any of these restaurants, Grubhub, Cheesecake Factory, Goldbelly, Wine.com, Five Guys. I shouldn't have said restaurants, obviously Grubhub and Wine.com. I don't even know what Goldbelly is, but personally, I got rid of this card. This is one of the best cards. I recommend this to most people. My girlfriend has this card because her biggest expenses are dining and grocery. However, I don't have the card because Costco doesn't take American Express. And how I would look at this card is the Uber, yes, I don't use the Dunkin' credit. I would use the dining credit. And I wouldn't use the $120 dining credit because I don't use Grubhub, I don't go to Cheesecake Factory, and I don't go to Five Guys or Goldbelly or Wine.com. So I would say I'd get $220 worth of credit. So, 200, 325 minus 220, it'd effectively be $105 annual fee for me. So that's kind of how you determine if the annual fee is worth it or not. But if you use all those credits, then technically you would be getting paid $99, a year to have that card. And the other thing is just because you're negative on the annual fee doesn't mean you're negative on the card, right? There's cards that I'm negative technically on the annual fee, but the spending multipliers make up for it. Like I want those spending multipliers. And on top of that, like if there was no credits or multipliers, I would pay $325 for 60 to 100,000 points. Easy. Like I know I can get way more value out of those points than I would $325 cash. So again, first year of a credit card is way different from second, third, fourth, fifth. That's why every year you got to do a credit card review and see what's worth it and what's not. I think I got two more cards, just example cards. Chase Sapphire Preferred, $95 annual fee, welcome offer, 75,000 points. I forget what the spend is for it. Might be 4,000 in 3 months or something like that. 5x on travel booked through Chase's portal, 3x on dining, 2x on travel, 3x on online grocery, 3x on streaming, 1x everything else. Benefits, you see the annual fees lower, so the credits are lower. $50 travel credit and a Dash Pass membership. So effective annual fee around 45 bucks. And then you do get access to their transfer partners. So when you have a $0 annual fee card, you don't get access to the travel partners, meaning you can't transfer your points out to, different airlines. Like you're gonna have to be in the annual fee world. That's why I'm really explaining why it's not really what you think. Like you can really justify it based on your daily spend or normal spend, so to say. Last card I'll use it as an example is the Built Palladium card. Annual fee is $495. It is a $50,000 points welcome offer plus $200 in Built cash, which can be used for various things within their ecosystem. Spending multipliers, it's just a flat 2x on everything, which may sound bad to you, but it's actually the best card of its kind for everyday spend. So, for example, this Chase Sapphire Preferred, 3x on dining, travel, online grocery streaming, but it's 1x on everything else. Well, there's a lot of things you spend money on that isn't dining, travel, online grocery, or streaming. A lot. And getting 2x versus 1x, well, that's a 100% increase. That is a massive shift from 1x to 2x. So you will rack up a lot more points with the 2x multiplier than just a normal 1x. Now, this card has a $400 hotel credit. It gives you $200 in built cash per year and a priority pass membership, which is lounge access for a lot of international lounges. And so if you use all those, the effective annual fee would be paying you $105 a year to have the card, assuming you use those credits, obviously. Okay, so redeeming points. We've now learned what points are. We've learned how to earn them. And now we're going to learn how to redeem them. So most people are going to use points for cash back, gift cards, etc. Don't do that. Just don't do that. That is not how you get value. You will only get your points at maximum a 1 cent per point value. So you don't want to do that. It is not good. Not good. Biggest mistake people make is they book through the travel portal. So on your credit card portal, if you're using any of them, let's just use American Express, you can go on their travel portal and then search for things through points. And people are like, oh, this is how people use points. No, that is not how people use points. That is how they trick you to use your points and not get a good value on them. You will only get a 1 cent per point redemption value. So if the cash value of a, ticket, let's just use an easy number. Let's say it's $100 in cash, then I think the reason I used a calculator is I didn't want to do my math wrong in here, but I think that would be a $10,000 or not $10,000, 10,000 points redemption, which that's a 1 cent per point value. That's not good. That is not good. So, a $400 ticket would be 40,000 points for the one way. Not good. You don't want to pay 40,000 points for a one-way domestic flight. So you got to understand how to redeem these points. Now, I'm going to brag here because I've mastered this. I turned a $4,000 value of points into $40,000 in value. So you may be like, oh, I don't want to learn this game. It's just credit card points. I'm not going to. It's like, dude, I got $36,000 in value. $36,000 in value from learning credit card points. And that's literally from one trip. Now, how am I justifying that math? Well, I took 400,000 American Express points and I booked a flight that was I think it was $10,000 cash one way for the business class ticket. And I booked round trip. So I took 400,000 Amex points, which if you do a 1 cent per point value, 400,000 times 0.01, that would be 4,000. But I took that and I turned it into $40,000 in value because I used 400,000 Amex points for me and my girlfriend. So 2 tickets there and back in business class, $40,000 in value. So yeah, you can redeem it for cash, or you can learn this game and make or get $36,000 worth of value, right? Insane. That's the power of learning credit card points. So this isn't some little, nerdy little hobby. This can genuinely make you a lot of money and get you to the places in the world that you actually want in the cabin that you actually want to be in. Okay, so how do we redeem points? So we already know don't redeem through a travel portal. Every bank has transfer partners. So what you want to do is you want to transfer those bank points to the airline or hotel and book from their website. So just like you have a Chase account or an American Express account, you're going to create a Delta membership account. So let's use this example. You're transferring American Express, transfers directly to Delta. It's super easy. There's a part on the app where you can transfer points, and then you'll hook up your Delta account and you'll transfer your points to Delta points. And you will do that instead of a Delta credit card where you're like, oh, but I'm earning Delta points. Yes, but American Express also earns Delta, can transfer to Delta and, 15 plus other airlines. So don't limit yourself just to Delta, where you only earn Delta miles and their spending multipliers always suck. So your Amex points will transfer directly to your Delta account or any of their other transfer partners. That's why you don't want to spend money on like a Delta card or a United card or an American Airlines card. You want to spend on the bank cards to transfer to these other companies. So these are lists of the transfer partners. I'm not going to go through every single one, but like just for one example, American Express can transfer to Air Canada, Air France, ANA, Avianca, British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, Delta, Emirates, Etihad, Singapore, all of these, Marriott, Hilton. So you can transfer American Express points to any of these airlines. And like Chase can go to United Airlines, Southwest, Air Canada, Air France, all of these, Hyatt, Marriott, IHG1. So you can transfer Chase directly to United. So why would you ever get a United card when you can just earn Chase points and transfer them to United or any of these other airlines if you want? Here's Bilt's transfer partners, Citi's transfer partners. They have American Airlines, Capital One. And here's where we get advanced. I may lose some of you here. This took me a while to understand, and it created a block because it was kind of confusing. But so we already understand banks. We want to transfer bank points to airlines, not earn airline points. We want to earn bank points, transfer them, and spend them on the airlines, right? Here's where it gets tricky. Let's use Chase, okay? Chase transfers directly to United Airlines. So I can transfer directly to United Airlines, right? But there's these thing called alliances. So there's Star Alliance, Sky Team, and One World. So these are just a few examples. I put plus more because there's a lot more, but these are some of the main ones you may use. So for example, United Airlines is in an alliance with Air Canada. So Chase transfers directly to United Airlines. So that makes it very simple. However, American Express does not transfer directly to United Airlines. However, guess what? I know that American Express has Air Canada as a transfer partner. So Air Canada's in the Star Alliance. So what does that mean? That means I can book United Airlines flights through Air Canada. So what Air Canada does is they post flights on their Air Canada website, but then when it says the plane, it'll say UA flight, 326 or whatever. So I can book an Air Canada flight or I could book a United flight through Air Canada. So if let's say I know I have American Express points, but I look online, I see a United Airlines flight. I don't go, oh no, I can't book United. American Express doesn't go to United. I go, no, let me look on Air Canada's website. Let me look on ANA's website. Let me look on Singapore Airlines website to see if they have posted, they call them reward flights, and I can check on their websites and see. Now, Air Canada and United Airlines, I rip that probably one out of three times. I do an Air Canada United Airlines flight. It's absolutely incredible. Same thing for the Sky Team and the One World, right? So I'll just use the top two here. I just booked, I'm flying domestically from Austin to Vegas, and I saw a Delta flight. But on the Delta website, it was like 40,000 points. But I knew Air France is an alliance with Delta, which means they sometimes offer Delta flights on their website. So I went to Air France and I found the same flight for like 12.5 thousand points. So then I just transferred my points to Air France, booked the same flight, the same exact Delta flight, but I booked it through Air France. This is key. Okay, the beginning part, simple. This is where the beginners and advanced people separate themselves. You must understand these alliances. And you can use ChatGPT and remind yourself. You don't have to memorize it. In fact, I usually go through a list. I know the main ones, but if I'm like struggling to find a flight, I will pull up the list and go through them and actually look. Very, very important. And then same thing. I think you're getting the gist of it. But one that I use a lot is British Airways and Alaska Airlines to book American Airlines. So Citi is the only credit card bank that transfers directly to American Airlines, but I don't go after Citi. I just don't really, I'm just not a big fan of their ecosystem at the moment. But I can still book, I still fly American half the time because I just book Alaska Airlines or British Airways. I book American Airlines flights through British Airways or through Alaska and Qatar, actually, and Qantas and Emirates, honestly. I use all of these, right? Like, you must understand the alliances. That is how you really take advantage of the game. Okay. So just to summarize, you earn points on the bank card, you transfer them to the airline or hotel account, and you just do that through the app on your American Express, Chase, Bill, whatever it is. There's a button on there in the app where you transfer to your other account and you must link your account, right? And then it transfers to that new account. So then let's say I transferred American Express to Delta. Cool. Now I go to my Delta account, sign in, delta.com, sign in. Now it says, okay, now I have, 20,000 points in there. Awesome. Then I go purchase the flight or hotel. Now, I know some of you are like, okay, this is a lot. How do I know what's good to book? Like, how do I know 50,000 points is bad or good in what situation? Well, for you analytical people, I actually created a formula for this. So, the value formula, cents per point, right? I mentioned this earlier. Um, oops. I mentioned this earlier that you are getting 1 cent per point on your points right now. That is what the banks value the points at for you if you were to just transfer it for cash. But we're not going to do that, right? 1 cent per point is awful. 1.5 to 2 cents per point, average. Two plus, strong. 4 to 10 cents per point, elite. And how I turned 400,000 points into $40,000 worth of value is I got 10 cents per point in value. So I 10x'd what the banks typically value your points at. I 10x that. Grant Cardone that bitch. So here's the formula. It is so cents per point, CPP equals the cash price of the ticket divided by the points used times 100, right? So it's really just, let's say the flight cost is $450, right? And the points on the same website. So I'm on Delta. I look at the cash price of a ticket from Austin to Vegas. Let's just say it's $450 in cash. Okay. And just forget taxes and fees for now. I'll explain that in a second. So $450 is the cash price. When I change it to search for points, it's 25,000 points. So I would take $450 divided by 25,000 points times 100, and that gives me 1.8. So that's a 1.8 cents per point. That's that's not bad. That's average, right? We could do that. Like, domestic flights, getting more than 2 cents per point is pretty rare. Like, domestic flights is not, you're not going to get a ton of value for domestic flights because they always sell out of those. It's the Austin to Bali where you can get 10 cents per point, right? You can get these massive, massive, massive value. That's why I really try to use my points a lot for international. However, since I don't fly international more than, a few times a year at most, I end up using it a lot of times for domestic. So I'm not saying don't use it on domestic. I'm just saying don't be like, oh, I'm not getting, 10 cents per point on domestic. You're not going to. 2 cents per point is fine for domestic. So this is the formula you must use. The reason I didn't include taxes and fees in the calculation is the taxes and fees you still have to pay when you use points. And, some points, reward flights where it's points, the taxes and fees are insane. Like it makes it not worth it. Like there was a Emirates flight, it was 200,000 points plus $1,000 in taxes and fees. It was like, okay, well, I'm still paying $1,000. So it doesn't really make it worth it to me versus the flight I had, it was $6 in taxes and fees. Well, that made it worth it. So that's why you don't include taxes and fees in the calculation. Because if you do, it will skew your cent per point to be more than it actually is. So domestic flights cheat sheet. Again, just go back and look at the list. But I use Air Canada to book United flights all the time, Alaska to book American, Qantas and Etihad to book American, British Airways to book American, and then Air France KLM to book Delta. That is very commonly like those are like my first go-tos, right? Now, obviously, I'm going to check direct with the airline first. I'm going to check United, Delta, Southwest, some of the I'm just going to go to united.com and check what it is for points first before I go check Air Canada, before I go check Alaska Airlines. But these are some common ones that you're going to use. When you're doing international, because there's so many airlines, use this platform called seats.aero. You can use it for free. I just it's $10 a month. I just pay the $10 when I need to use it because I don't fly internationally, like I said, more than a couple times a year. So just pay the $10 when you need to use it. Game changer. Because when you're flying internationally, there's so many options, right? Like I flew out of Atlanta. There's a really good, the 10 cents per point. I flew out of Atlanta. So it wasn't direct from Austin to Bali. I flew into Atlanta. I found a cheap domestic flight, flew into Atlanta and got that insane deal. So, if you're searching from, Austin to Bali, you don't just want to check Austin, check Dallas, check Houston right next to you. And then, there's just too many options. Like it would take you forever to go through every single flight, potential alliance partner, check all the different airports, all the different days. Like it's ridiculous. So use Seats at Aero if you're gonna travel internationally. So my strategy on how I book flights, first I go to Google Flights, not just Googling flights, like the Google Flights platform to see the cash prices, just to kind of see like, okay, what's the general cost of these flights first? Like, okay, it's around $400 typically. And I always search one-way flights. I don't do round trips. I always book one way and I'll book another one-way ticket back. It's always better that way because a lot of times I'm not flying the same airline back. The way there and the way back are completely different trips. So doing a round trip just completely skews everything. So I may fly Delta there, United back, Southwest there, Delta back, whatever it is, right? So always book one ways. Check the cash price just to kind of get a feel for it. Maybe I'll write down like, okay, I see Delta's got, the cheapest one. That means it's probably going to be the lowest points, but not always. And I'll check the direct transfers first. So if I know I have, Amex points, I'm going to check Delta first. If I have a lot of Chase points, I'm going to check United and Southwest first, right? Whatever, direct transfers you have, I'm going to check those first. Then I'm going to check the partner airlines, right? So if I have a Amex card, I'm going to check Air France. If I have a Bilt card, I'm going to check Alaska. If I have any card, I'm going to check Air Canada because they all have Air Canada, Qantas, etc. So check the main ones, then check the partner airlines. Then you calculate the cash versus the points cost. You're going to use the formula we just went over to calculate the CPP, the cents per point. So in summary, you are going to earn points on bank cards through the sign-up bonuses, the spend categories for dining, groceries, whatever that is, and referrals, right? So you got friends that, need a credit card. Hey, have them use your link, right? There's no like it's not like you're selling them on anything. It's just, hey, if you're gonna get that card, use my link. I get a free reward. And then search reward flights on airlines plus Alliance Airlines. That's really, really key. Most people don't know that. And then transfer them to your airline or hotel membership account. And then calculate the CPP to ensure you're getting max value. There's times, very rare, that I don't see any good points flights, so I will just use cash. Now, the Amex Platinum has, a $200 airline credit that I know how to use for just direct flights, which most people don't. But I know a trick with that I will just use the cash. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to spend my points at a 1 cent per point rate. So I'm just going to use cash for this flight. Very rare. I think I paid cash for one flight, but it was only because I had a $200 off credit. So it was actually like a $100 flight. So it actually ended up being a better value to use cash, but always calculate the CPP. Now, last note on here is make a spreadsheet with all your logins to these airlines. So I just have it in my notes app. I have like a private notes app with all my logins for every single airline. I'm telling you, it's a bitch in the beginning because you're gonna have to create accounts for every single one of those airlines, which there's a lot. But it's a one-time thing. You do it once, you have all your logins, and you're good. So next steps, one is to create a custom credit card strategy, based on what ecosystem you want to target, what airlines, hotels you want to target, what your highest spend categories are, if you're willing to pay annual fees, and if you'll be able to hit the sign-up bonuses. And I will help you do that. So to end in conclusion, the value exchange that I would ask for all of you is if you message me, if you have my number, just text me, obviously, but I'm going to be sharing this with people outside of my close circle. So just message me on Instagram at Luke Sheffers for a custom game plan. Dude, I love this stuff. Like I literally geek out over credit cards. Like my girlfriend always makes fun of me because I'll just be listening like in the shower in the car to credit card videos. Like I love it. I am a student of the game 100%. And my only ask in return is use my referral links when you sign up for credit cards. That's how I can get some extra points. It helps me, no cost to you. It's like you can just sign up directly on the website or, you can help me out a little bit. So not asking for money, I'm not charging you for any help with this, but just use my referral links for any cards that you're going to get. Now, not every card has referral links, but some cards do. So if I recommend that card to you, which I promise you, I'm not going to be biased just to get a referral bonus. Like I won't do that. I want you to have a good credit card setup much more than I care about getting, 10, 15, 20,000 points, which, you know, I, I get that very quickly, based on spend and other things. So I don't need the points, but I would like the points. So please help me out. That would be great. Other than that, again, I'm scratching the surface here, right? Like this is the most value I could give you to kind of like be like, okay, I really understand the game. But there's more. Like it's a never ending, there's so much. Like this is the tip of the iceberg. So the thing I'll leave you with as well is the game that I just explained to you. If you master this, you're good. Like I just framed it like there's so much more information, and there is, but if you master what this presentation told you, you will get massive value, like massive, massive, massive value. You will have the ability to do what I did and make, get $36,000 in value, right? Which was the 4,000 turned into $40,000 worth of value. Like, trust me, this game is so fun once you get into it, but you do need to learn. And just like anything, there's a learning curve, and you kind of got to get comfortable with all the portals, how to transfer. And just like anything, the first time's always the hardest. The first time you try to figure out how to transfer your points, you're not going to know. It's going to be confusing. You're going to be frustrated. Who cares? Like, that's everything. Like, if it was easy to do all this, like, the banks would lose so much money. Like that's why they make it so complicated, is because we have to do all this work to figure it out. Now, I've made it very, very simple for you. I've laid out the game. All you need to do is learn it, study it, understand it. So, hope this helped. Appreciate you guys for sticking all the way to the end. If you did, you're obviously the type of person who, is very committed to this. So definitely reach out to me. Would love to talk some game into you, kind of show you the game more in depth. And again, I would love to do a custom game plan for you. I love credit cards. I would love to help you. Only ask I have in return is use my referral link for any cards. So appreciate y'all, love y'all, and let's go travel the world. 100%. We'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.